And what I'm going to be talking to you about is the world of trend and how you can reinvent the way you think, look at your market, look at your customers, by learning how to live with the inconsistencies and the contradictions that are out there in the trend landscape. And I'm going to talk about trend and counter trend. First, though, I'll start with some basic terminology. What is a trend? Well, trends are things that make sense for a reason. There's no crystal ball. There's not a lot of woo-woo. There is a little magic, because I believe that trend is as much an art as it is a science. It's as much a philosophy as it is a process, and I'll be sharing some of those thoughts with you in a moment. I also want to explain what a trend master is. I'm known as a trend master, and I'll explain that best by telling you what I am not. I am not a trend guru. A trend guru knows everything there is to know about trend, and that's not me. I'm also not a futurist. I do not make predictions. And lastly, I'm not a cool hunter. And that's probably what most people think of when they imagine what a trend person is or what they do. And a cool hunter I describe as someone who is always on that holy grail search for the next big thing. And I don't believe there is one next big thing. I think there are many different conflicting and contradictory next big things. So I sort of debunk that trend myth along the way. Now, what do you need to become a good trend master? How do you track and translate trends into sales and profit? That's how I describe a trend master. The first thing you need is a keen power of observation. People often ask me who my trend hero is, and I tell them it's Yogi Berra. Yogi said, you can observe a lot just by watching. And that's all trend is. So you've all had your coffee this morning, you've had a great breakfast, a good night's sleep, a great golf tournament yesterday. You are now going to get a 1-minute observation test. It's called the F test, and here are your instructions. I want you to read carefully the sentence below in the box and count the number of F's in that sentence in the box. Do this to yourself, just quietly in your head. Reread it a second time. How many F's are in that sentence in the box? Okay, how many people found 3 F's? Raise your hand. About half the room as far as I can see from here. How many people found 4 F's? Raise your hands. Raise them high. Good. Okay, about maybe 10%. How many people found 5 F's? Raise your hands. Ooh, a few more, 10, 15%. How many people found 6 F's? Raise your hands. Good. There are 6 F's in that box. We are all sitting in the same room looking at the same black and white sentence in a box, yet we all saw something different. Now, I will tell you that traditionally, when I give this test to children that have just learned to read, they find all 6 F's. Here they are. Okay, what happened? What happened is your brain overrode your eyes in terms of looking at what you're observing. And what I mean by that is when your brain heard your mind say the word of, it registered OV, of, instead of OF, of. And so your brain just discounted what's right there in front of your nose. And I use this test, and by the way, you're all very normal. This is a very consistent breakout of what happens. I've given this test to CEOs and to design students, all levels of management, marketers, product developers, designers. Traditionally, designers are a little better at finding all 6 F's, but it's a very normal situation. And I just use it as a way to explain that even when you think you are really seeing what's out there, whether it's right in front of your nose or out there in the marketplace, you're not always. You have to really look hard and be focused, and that's what I'm going to take you through and help you do a little bit in just a minute. But first, I also want to explain my trend from the inside out philosophy. I just said you need a keen sense or power of observation. You need to see what's right in front of your nose. You need to see what's out there in the marketplace. The way we traditionally do that is we analyze, we look at numbers and data and statistics, and we try to determine where a trend is going. But I'll caution you about that, and I'll remind you that a number is basically an analysis of what happened. It's telling you what already occurred. It is not telling you what's going to happen next. And I often like to quote W.C. Fields, who said, "Statistics are like bikinis. What they reveal is important, but what they hide is vital." Okay. where were those F's hiding? You know, they're important. And so what I'm going to get at is the inside part. You look in front of your nose out there in the marketplace, but you need to look inside the hearts and minds of the customer. And that is where my Starbucks cups came from, and I'll tell you the story behind it. This is my philosophy in 2 sentences. I call it Trend from the Inside Out. And as a result of this, when my first book came out, The Trendmaster's Guide in 2004, my very first speaking engagement was at Starbucks headquarters in Seattle. And it was a small group, a group of marketers, and as a result of my sharing my trend philosophy, I was invited to submit a juried quote for their White Cup Authors series. If you're not familiar with it, it's a series that was designed to encourage conversation in a coffee house. And I was really thrilled about this because at that time, Starbucks poured 4 million cups of coffee every single day around the world. That's great marketing for a new author. It also put me in some very nice company. I was in between Herbie Hancock, 109, and Alice Hoffman, 111. So what is my trend philosophy that landed me on Starbucks cups? Well, basically, it's that trends are signposts pointing to what's going on inside the hearts and minds of the customer. These days, if you want to be on trend, it's more important to figure out what's important, not just what's next. You need to tune in to the desires and understand your customer from the inside out, not just from the marketplace back in.